And that, my dear Xeno friends, is why you should never, ever let a human plan your beach vacation, I said, taking a swig from my luminescent blue cocktail and savoring the burning sensation as it trickled down my throat. The assembled aliens around the bar stared at me with a mixture of horror, fascination, and what I could only assume was the interstellar equivalent of bullshit detector activation. Grix, the Centauri bartender with his forearms constantly in motion mixing drinks, leaned in close. His faceted eyes glittered with curiosity. Surely you jest, Jake. No species could survive such idiocy, I offered helpfully. Recklessness. Grix chittered, mandibles clicking in agitation. I couldn't help but laugh, which probably didn't help my case. Oh, my sweet summer child, I said, fully aware that Grix had never experienced summer and had no idea what a child was. You have no idea the depths of human stupidity or resilience. Often they're the same thing. The Arcturian to my left, a gelatinous blob named Blorp, I kid you not, wobbled in what I'd come to recognize as their version of a shudder. But the radiation levels you described, it should have liquefied your organs. I grinned, showing off my teeth in a gesture I knew made most species deeply uncomfortable. Nah, that's just a good old-fashioned sunburn, although I conceded, rubbing my peeling nose. It does feel like my face is trying to molt. And that's when I realized I had the undivided attention of every being in the Crossroads bar, the seediest yet somehow most reputable watering hole this side of the Orion Arm. Even the usually aloof Fopexi in the corner had stopped pretending to ignore everyone else. Well, I said, cracking my knuckles in a gesture that made at least 3 species flinch, I suppose I should start at the beginning. It all began when humanity finally joined the Galactic Confederation. It was about 5 standard cycles ago, when Earth finally got the invitation to join the big kids' table of interstellar politics. Honestly, we were all shocked it happened so soon. Most species thought we'd either blow ourselves up or drown in our own pollution before we got our act together enough for faster-than-light travel. But humans, as usual, defied expectations. We jury-rigged our way into the stars with a combination of sheer stubbornness, duct tape, and technology that made most alien engineers weep in terror. Our first FTL drive looked like it had been cobbled together from an old microwave, a lava lamp, and about 50 car batteries. The day we made first contact, half the Galactic Confederation thought it was a joke. The other half started fortifying their borders. You see, Earth had a bit of a reputation. We were classified as a death world, which is a fancy way of saying our planet actively tried to kill us on a regular basis. Earthquakes, hurricanes, volcanoes, you name it. Not to mention the sheer variety of creatures that could end you with a bite, a sting, or just by looking at you funny. Most aliens couldn't wrap their heads around the fact that we considered this normal. So when the Galactic Confederation grudgingly allowed us to join their ranks, it came with more warnings and safety protocols than a nuclear reactor operating manual. We were to be quarantined, strictly monitored, and under no circumstances were we to interact with the general populace without proper containment suits. Naturally, we ignored all of that within the first week. Which brings us to the fateful day when Zixtal, the Confederation's ambassador of interspecies relations, decided it was high time to have a cultural exchange with the strange new Deathworlders. And what better way to do that than a nice relaxing day at the beach? Now, I should probably mention that Zixtal was a Florvarian, a species that evolved on a planet with 3 suns and skin that could withstand the heat of a small star. To them, a pleasant day out meant temperatures that would make Venus look like a winter wonderland. But hey, who were we to argue? We were new to the galactic scene and eager to make a good impression. So when Zixtal suggested we visit the famous resort planet of Helios Prime, known for its invigorating solar flares and rejuvenating plasma storms, we enthusiastically agreed. In retrospect, we probably should have asked a few more questions. The day of the excursion arrived, and a group of 20 humans, myself included, boarded the sleek Confederation shuttle. We were a motley crew of diplomats, scientists, and a few random lottery winners who jumped at the chance for a free space vacation. As we approached Helios Prime, the first warning sign should have been the fact that the planet looked like a giant, angry fireball. But we chalked it up to alien aesthetics and assumed it was some kind of holographic effect. Second warning sign came when we were all handed what looked like thin, shimmering bodysuits. These are standard issue protective wear for Helios Prime, Zixtal explained, his voice a soothing hum that somehow managed to sound both patronizing and concerned at the same time. They will shield you from any uncomfortable radiation. Now, being the clever Deathworlders we were, we immediately started poking and prodding at the suits, trying to figure out how they work. This, of course, horrified our hosts. "Please," Zixtal's assistant, a nervous little Quetzal named Pip, squeaked. "The integrity of the suit is crucial. One tear could lead to, a fantastic tan?" I suggested helpfully. Pip made a sound like a deflating balloon and scurried away to hide behind Zixtal. We landed on what I can only describe as the universe's most terrifying beach. The sand was actually finely ground crystals that seemed to shimmer and shift with an inner light. The ocean was a roiling mass of plasma that occasionally shot gouts of fire hundreds of feet into the air. And the sun? Well, let's just say it took up about 80% of the visible sky and looked angry enough to eat a small galaxy for breakfast. But you know what? It was warm. After months of living on climate-controlled space stations and ships, feeling actual heat on our skin, even through the suits, was nice. So like the responsible adults we were, we immediately started stripping off our protective gear. "What are you doing?" Zixtal's voice had risen to a pitch I didn't think possible for a being without vocal cords. "The suits are for your protection." "Relax," said Sarah, our lead entobiologist, as she peeled off her suit with a look of relief. "This is nothing compared to a summer in Arizona." "Yeah," chimed in Mike, a burly engineer from Australia. "This is just a Tuesday back home." I, being the voice of reason, stopped laughing. Grix decided to keep my suit on. At least for a little while. To be polite. What followed was a scene that I'm pretty sure is now used in Galactic Confederation training videos as a prime example of what not to do when dealing with Deathworlders. Half of our group immediately ran into the plasma ocean, whooping and hollering about how it was just like a hot tub, but spicier. The other half started a game of volleyball using a crystalline rock they'd found, completely ignoring the fact that said rock occasionally burst into flames. Zixtal and his team watched in horror, their protective bubbles humming with increased intensity as if trying to shield them from the sheer insanity unfolding before their eyes. This is impossible," Pip whispered, his eyes wide as saucers. "Yes, Blorp, I know your species doesn't have eyes. It's a figure of speech. The radiation levels alone they should be having the time of their lives." I offered, sipping on a drink that had been described as mildly radioactive, but in a fun way. And that's when things really went off the rails. And you see, while most of us were frolicking in the deadly plasma and playing with combustible rocks, a small group had wandered off to explore a nearby crystal forest. These crystals, we later learned, were actually ancient energy collectors, storing solar power from Helios Prime's intense sun. Now, I want you to picture this. 3 humans stark naked. They'd abandoned their suits long ago, stumbling through a forest of glowing crystals that contained enough energy to power a small planet. What could possibly go wrong? Everything. Everything could go wrong. It started with a sneeze. Yes, you heard that right. Amidst all the deadly radiation, plasma storms, and general chaos, it was a simple human bodily function that caused the biggest incident in Galactic Confederation history since the Great Yogurt Nub. But that's a story for another time. Dr. Evelyn Chang, a brilliant quantum physicist and apparently allergic to alien pollen, let out a sneeze that echoed through the crystal forest. This wouldn't have been a problem, except that the sound waves from her sneeze resonated with the crystals at just the right frequency to cause a chain reaction. The forest lit up like a supernova having a seizure. Beams of concentrated solar energy shot in every direction, carving trenches in the crystalline ground and setting the sky itself on fire. It was like being inside a giant, malfunctioning disco ball of death. And how did the humans react to this apocalyptic scene? They thought it was awesome. "Wicked light show, Ev," shouted Tom, a programmer from London, as he dodged a beam that came perilously close to vaporizing his left buttock. "Thanks." Evelyn called back, her face split in a manic grin. I think I just discovered a new form of energy transmission. Meanwhile, back on the beach, the rest of us were treated to a view that could only be described as the end of days, but make it fabulous. The sky was a kaleidoscope of burning plasma, crystal shards rained down like the world's most dangerous glitter, and the ocean had decided that now was a great time to try out its impression of a supernova. Zixtal, to his credit, hadn't fled screaming into the night. Instead, he stood there, all 4 of his arms waving in frantic patterns as he tried to contact emergency services, evacuation teams, and probably a good therapist. "This is unprecedented," he kept saying, his voice a mix of terror and, if I wasn't mistaken, a hint of awe. "No species has ever. We didn't think it was possible to throw the best beach party in galactic history." I suggested, casually stepping aside as a glob of plasma rolled by, chasing a screaming pip. That's when the Galactic Confederation's rapid response team arrived. And by rapid response, I mean they showed up in ships that looked like they were designed to survive a collision with a small moon. They came in hazmat suits that made our flimsy protective gear look like tissue paper, brandishing weapons that I'm pretty sure were designed to fight stars. What they found must have short-circuited their brains. Humans, naked as the day they were born, frolicking in radiation levels that should have turned them into sentient puddles. The crystal forest, now a rave of cosmic proportions, with 3 humans in the center trying to conduct the energy beams like some demented orchestra. And me, still in my protective suit, I have some standards, calmly sipping my radioactive cocktail and waving at the dumbfounded rescue team. Lovely day for it, isn't it? I called out, raising my glass in salute. What followed was the most thorough and panic decontamination process in the history of the universe. Each human was scrubbed, scanned, and scrutinized to a degree that would make paranoid conspiracy theorists say, "Whoa, take it easy there, buddy." The best part, not a single human showed any signs of radiation poisoning, genetic mutation, or spontaneous combustion. Well, almost. Remember how I kept my suit on? Yeah, turns out these fancy alien suits don't protect against good old-fashioned sunburn. While everyone else escaped with a nice tan, I looked like a lobster that had picked a fight with a solar flare. The quarantine lasted for 3 standard months. Not for us, mind you, for the rest of the galaxy. The Galactic Confederation was so terrified of what we might have brought back from Helios Prime that they quarantined every species that had come into contact with us, no matter how briefly. This, as you might imagine, caused a bit of a stir. Trade routes were disrupted. Diplomatic meetings were canceled. There were rumors of entire sectors going into lockdown at the mere mention of the word human. And us, we were poked, prodded, and studied like we were the most fascinating science experiment in the universe. Which, to be fair, we kind of were. Scientists from every corner of the galaxy came to examine us, each leaving more confused than when they arrived. Theories were proposed and discarded faster than humans could find new ways to ignore safety protocols. Some suggested we had evolved some kind of organic radiation shielding. Others theorized that we were actually energy beings masquerading as flesh and blood. One particularly creative Zygonian proposed that humans were actually a silicon-based life form and our flesh was just an elaborate disguise. The truth, as always, was much simpler and much more terrifying. We were just really, really hard to kill. Thousands of years of evolution on a planet that seemed designed to murder us had turned humans into the cockroaches of the galaxy. Resilient, adaptable, and apparently able to treat deadly radiation like a day at the spa. And of course, this led to a whole new set of problems. Suddenly, every species in the galaxy wanted to know our secrets. How did we do it? Could our abilities be replicated, weaponized? Humanity found itself in the unexpected position of being both the most feared and the most sought-after species in the Confederation. Governments wanted our DNA, corporations wanted our technology, such as it was. And everyday aliens, they just wanted to buy us drinks and dare us to do increasingly stupid things. Which, let's be honest, we were more than happy to oblige. In the years since the Helios Prime incident, as it came to be known, we just called it Tuesday, humanity's reputation has only grown more colorful. We've become the galaxy's daredevils, thrill seekers, and occasional problem solvers. I got a planet that's too radioactive to inhabit. Send in the humans. Need someone to test if that new star system is stable? Humans. Want to know if that strange artifact you found is going to explode if you touch it? Well, you get the idea. But here's the kicker, the punchline to this cosmic joke. Despite all our apparent invulnerability, despite surviving things that should by all rights turn us into quivering piles of goo, we're still done in by the simplest things. Like me and my sunburn. While my colleagues were out there basking in radiation that would sterilize most planets, I was nursing the worst sunburn of my life. For weeks, I looked like a badly sunburned chameleon, changing colors as I went through various stages of peeling. And you know what? The aliens found this absolutely hilarious. He was a being that could swim in plasma, play catch with radioactive crystals, and treat solar flares like a light breeze, brought low by something as simple as UV radiation. It was a reminder that for all our incredible resilience, humans were still, well, human. In the end, that's what really cemented our place in the galactic community. Not our ability to survive the unsurvivable, but our ability to laugh at ourselves when we get taken out by the ridiculous. We were walking contradictions, bundles of fragility and invulnerability, wisdom and utter stupidity, all wrapped up in a package that could either save your civilization or accidentally set it on fire while trying to make toast. And the galaxy, it seemed, couldn't get enough of us. I finished my story and my drink at roughly the same time, enjoying the stunned silence that had fallen over the Crossroads bar. Even Grix had stopped his constant motion, all forearms frozen in midair as he processed what he'd just heard. Blorp was the first to break the silence, their gelatinous form rippling in what I'd come to recognize as laughter. By the cosmic winds, they bubbled, "You Deathworlders truly are insane. Insane." I grinned, tapping my empty glass for a refill. Nah, we prefer the term creatively adapted. The bar erupted into a cacophony of alien voices, each trying to ask a dozen questions at once. I held up my hands, trying to stem the tide of curiosity and disbelief. Now, I said, my voice carrying over the din. One at a time. Yes, you there, the one with the, tentacles. A cephalon waved its appendages excitedly. But how did the Confederation react long-term? Surely they didn't just let you run amok in the galaxy. I chuckled, accepting a fresh drink from Grix. Oh, they tried to contain us, believe me. The first thing they did was classify Earth as a level 10 biohazard, which I gotta say felt a little harsh. We're what, maybe a level 8 at worst? This elicited nervous laughter from the crowd. I took a sip of my drink, savoring the moment. But here's the thing about humans, I continued, leaning in conspiratorially. The more you tell us we can't do something, the more we want to do it. It's like an irresistible itch in our brains. The Arcturian to my left, Blorp, wobbled uncertainly. So you defied the Confederation's restrictions? Defied, I scoffed. We turned it into an Olympic sport. And just like that, I was off on another tale, the aliens hanging on my every word. The Great Human Containment, as it came to be known, lasted all of 3 standard months before it spectacularly backfired. Picture this, humanity, a species that had spent its entire existence pushing boundaries and exploring the unknown, suddenly told they had to stay put on their little blue marble. It was like telling a room full of caffeinated toddlers not to touch the big red button. The result was predictable. At first, the Galactic Confederation tried the diplomatic approach. They sent envoys, promised trade deals, offered us shiny new technologies if we'd just be good little Deathworlders and stay in our corner of the galaxy. But you see, they made one critical mistake. They let us keep our internet. Within weeks, humans across Earth were in contact with every corner of the galaxy. We set up intergalactic pen pal programs, started streaming our harmless extreme sports to bewildered alien audiences, and even began an exchange student program that gave new meaning to the term long-distance learning. The Confederation's next move was to set up a blockade around our solar system, a ring of the most advanced warships in the galaxy, crewed by hardened veterans who'd seen it all. Or so they thought. They weren't prepared for the sheer, determined weirdness of humanity. It started small. A few human ships approaching the blockade, not to break through but to chat. We'd pull up alongside these massive battle cruisers and ask if they'd heard about our Lord and Savior Keanu Reeves. We sent care packages of our most unique Earth delicacies. Do you have any idea how disturbing it is to a methane-breathing Sargon to receive a tin of surströmming? But the coup de grace, that came from an unlikely source, human grandmothers. See, a group of retirees from Florida, a place on Earth that's basically a preview of what happens when you let humans run wild, decided that these poor alien soldiers looked too skinny and needed some home cooking. Before the Confederation knew what hit them, little old ladies in floral dresses were spacewalking from ship to ship, armed with cookies and an unshakable desire to pinch alien cheeks, regardless of whether said aliens had cheeks. The sight of battle-hardened Zenturi warriors being fussed over by 5'0" human grandmas quickly became the galaxy's favorite reality show. But it wasn't all fun and games. Oh no, we had a plan. A gloriously ridiculous, so crazy it just might work plan. While the galaxy was distracted by our antics, a team of Earth's finest minds was working on cracking the secrets of Confederation technology. And by finest minds, I mean a bunch of sleep-deprived college students fueled by energy drinks and a desire to prove their professors wrong. In a moment that will go down in history as either humanity's greatest achievement or its most hilarious blunder, this rag team managed to reverse engineer Confederation, FTLO, drives using nothing but salvaged alien tech, a supercomputer made from linked-up gaming rigs, and what they swore was the power of anime. The day we broke the blockade was a day the galaxy will never forget. Thousands of ships, each cobbled together from whatever we could get our hands on. burst out of hyperspace in a maneuver we named Operation Leary Jenkins. The Confederation fleet, caught completely off guard by our sudden appearance and probably still reeling from the Grandma invasion, didn't know whether to shoot us or offer us a mental health evaluation. In the confusion, we scattered to the cosmic winds. Humanity burst onto the galactic scene like a glitter bomb in a library, loud, messy, and impossible to get rid of. We settled on uninhabitable worlds, terraforming them through sheer stubbornness and a liberal application of what we called the Chuck Norris method, staring at the atmosphere until it became breathable out of sheer intimidation. We opened intergalactic fast food chains, introducing the concept of heart attack in a bun to species that didn't even have hearts. Our music, with its wild rhythms and incomprehensible lyrics, became the galaxy's guilty pleasure. And extreme sports. Let's just say that bungee jumping into a black hole suddenly made all other forms of entertainment seem quaint. But our real impact, the thing that truly cemented our place in the galactic community, was our uncanny ability to make friends in the strangest places. Take the Vexthar, for example. A species so xenophobic they hadn't left their home system in 10,000 years. Humanity's solution. We challenged their entire species to a drinking contest. 3 weeks, 2 million gallons of alcohol, and one very confused Vexthar emperor later, we had ourselves a new best friend and ally. Or the Kulari, a hyper-intelligent species that communicated solely through complex mathematical equations. We introduced them to interpretive dance. Now they're the galaxy's premier interdimensional ballet troupe. Everywhere we went, we left a trail of bewildered allies, exasperated enemies, and a growing list of things that were now illegal in at least 12 star systems. The Galactic Confederation, realizing that containing us was about as effective as using a sieve to bail out the Titanic, finally threw up their hands and officially welcomed humanity into the galactic community. The ceremony was meant to be a dignified affair. Keyword, meant. It ended with the Confederation president doing a keg stand, 3 new interspecies marriages, and the invention of a dance move that's now considered a declaration of war in some sectors. As we stand now, humanity has become the galaxy's wild card. Need a planet evacuated. Call the humans. Have a diplomatic crisis that needs an unorthodox solution? Yep, humans. I want to turn your boring corporate retreat into the talk of the quadrant. You guessed it, humans. We're consultants, adventurers, party planners, and occasional saviors of the galaxy. We're the ones you call when all other options have been exhausted, and you need someone crazy enough to try the impossible. Sure, we still cause our fair share of problems. The incident on Omega Centauri involving a rubber duck, 17 cans of silly string, and a poorly timed sneeze is still classified at the highest levels. And yes, we may have accidentally started a religion based on 20th century sitcoms on a pre-FTL world. But hey, nobody's perfect. I finished my tale, taking a long swig from my drink and enjoying the mix of awe, horror, and poorly concealed amusement on the faces, or equivalent sensory organs, of my alien audience. And that, my friends, I said, setting down my glass with a flourish, is how humanity went from quarantined Deathworlders to the galaxy's favorite chaos monkeys. The bar was silent for a moment, then erupted into a cacophony of questions, exclamations, and what I'm pretty sure were a few marriage proposals. Grix, who had been listening intently while mixing increasingly complex drinks, leaned in close. "Is it true," he asked, his voice a conspiratorial whisper, "that humans celebrate the anniversary of the blockade breaking by, what did you call it, mooning the Confederation headquarters?" I grinned, showing off those Deathworlder teeth. Now, Grix, you know what they say, what happens in 0G stays in 0G. As the night wore on and the stories grew taller, I couldn't help but smile to myself. Sure, we humans might be the galaxy's headache, but we're also its excitement, its innovation, its agents of chaos and change. And as I looked around at the diverse crowd, all brought together by a shared fascination with the universe's most improbable species, I realized something. The galaxy might not have been ready for humanity, but by the stars, it needed us. Now, if you'll excuse me, I think I hear someone asking about the time we taught a hive men the concept of individualism through the power of pizza. But that, my friends, is a story for another night.